Hassan Piker saw Charlie Kirk, someone that he knew, get shot in the neck. His first reaction was to make a glib remark about gun control. You.
So I want to start out by saying that I don't wish to make this video on the heels of Charlie Kirk's death. Whether you liked him, disliked him, or were indifferent, what happened to him was tragic. Taking somebody's life because they expressed opinions that you disagree with or even found harmful is not how we operate as a country. And comedian Reed Choi said it better than I ever could.
Charlie Kirk got shot. What? The right-wing guy? Yeah, he got shot on campus in the middle of a debate. What? I thought you hated the guy. Yeah, but just because I disagree with the guy doesn't mean I believe he deserves to get shot. But he was spewing all that hate speech on university campuses.
What do you think universities are for? It's not supposed to be some echo chamber where you hear the same opinions thrown back at you. It's supposed to be a place where you learn how to be a critical thinker. And the only way of doing so is by having your own ideas attacked. So you can learn to either defend or throw away the ideas that don't serve you. Not to be a safe space. It's supposed to be dangerous because ideas are dangerous. A single idea can heal or poison an entire nation.
Well, he said pew-pew deaths are a necessary cost to having a Second Amendment.
That's what I'm afraid of. That we forget that we're brother and sister, that we dehumanize one another, assuming malice, but we forget that merit is not monopolized by either side, that we need one another, that through compromise we might be able to find some semblance of truth. Because if we point a barrel, we become a monster too.
Now, a few things are important from that skit. Number one, college is supposed to expand your viewpoints. You may go from liberal to conservative, or the other way around. That's part of the process. And that's also one of Charlie Kirk's points of going on college campuses.
Because that's what is so important to our country, is to find our disagreements respectfully. Because when people stop talking, that's when violence happens. Because people like me are facing violence. I've been stormed out of restaurants, I've been assaulted publicly, multiple death threats. We record all of it so that we put on the internet so people can see these ideas collide. When people stop talking, that's when you get violence. That's when civil war happens. Because you start to think the other side is so evil and they lose their humanity.
Now, I'm not going to deny that some of Charlie Kirk's debate styles have been harsh, and we know that he aggressively tries to push his political beliefs onto people. I'm not going to sim for him. And also, I'm not going to call you a terrible person because you're sort of numb to his death. Because objectively, he was polarizing, and he did have some views that I felt were extreme, including, for example, his lack of nuance when it comes to abortion.
So I just have one question. So you don't think there's any case where abortion should be legal?
There's a very, very rare couple cases.
Okay, so you do think that a couple cases it is legal?
If cesarean section is not going to save the mother's life, and the mother's life is actually at risk, which is debated amongst growing numbers of OBGYNs, that is the only case where abortion should be allowed.
Think there
but it is a growing consensus in the pro-life world that abortion is never medically necessary.
Okay, so if you had a daughter and she was 10 and she got raped, and she was going to give birth and she would and she was going to give birth and she was going to live, would you want her to go through that and carry her baby?
That's awfully graphic. The answer is yes, the baby would be delivered.
Oh, okay, great. So that's insane.
But let me tell you why. There's two ultrasounds I have. One is a baby conceived in one is a baby conceived by a loving couple. Which one is which? Which person here was conceived by Tell me which one was conceived by
We don't know.
Exactly, because it's all human rights
but
and it's all human beings.
That doesn't matter.
Which I disagree with the narrative that just because you can't tell the difference between a fetus that was conceived in grape versus one conceived quote-unquote normally, there shouldn't be exceptions to abortion. And so I can see where people might be coming from when they don't feel a huge well of empathy for him. But wholeheartedly, I reject the dehumanization of Charlie. We ought to be above that, and so anybody who is celebrating or dismissing the severity, shame on you. Because some of the comments were disgusting. Exhibit A, good, Trump next. Exhibit B, his arrogance and smirk made this sweet. Exhibit C, this makes me happy, I don't give a among others. And some of the comments from the right were equally harmful, saying liberals destroyed this country, or being in the left is a mental virus. The common thread, zero empathy, and in my opinion leads to dehumanization, ultimately perpetuating the cycle. Now, there were some reactions from the left that proved to me that just because it's the left doesn't mean they're all inhumane, and it gave me a sliver of hope. One of them being Hunter Kozak, who was the last person to debate Charlie before his murder.
It's been a rough 24 hours. This last person to talk to Charlie Kirk, here's maybe a better vantage point of me. So I'll give you some background. I made a video maybe about a week or two ago, I think. Oh my God. So Charlie Kirk just said that the suspected Minneapolis school shooter was trans. First Nashville, now this. How many times makes a trend? Probably the only way to do this is to have an ungodly amount of time to parse through all of the 6,000 mass shootings that have ever happened in the history of America. I mean, Charlie's counting on the fact that only a psycho would do all that. Trans people are surprisingly and extremely nonviolent. Now, while I was scrolling Charlie Kirk's video, I noticed that he was touring America, and he was touring universities specifically. And one of these caught my eye because one of these is the university I'm currently going to. I'm not going to show a video of what happened, mostly because I can barely watch it. But yeah, here's what I asked. I asked, do you know how many transgender Americans have been mass shooters over the last 10 years? Too many. I said the number's 5. Counting or non-counting gang violence. Pop is heard. First off, you sick fucking psychos that think this is the answer. I don't know what else to say. It's fucking not. It's awful, and a father doesn't have his kids anymore. Charlie had 2 kids and a wife. Like, his 1-year-old boy will grow up without memories of his dad. It's a tragedy, and it's hard to grapple with. And people have obviously pointed to the irony that the point that I was trying to make is how peaceful the left was right before he got shot. And as much as I disagree with Charlie Kirk, I'm on the record for how much I disagree with Charlie Kirk, but like, man, dude, he is still a human being. Have we forgotten that? Are we crazy? Like, I stand by so little of everything that he said, but one of the things that he stood by was conversation. And if you're salivating about what happened, don't. I don't know if any of my audience is, but if you are, you're not part of what I'm trying to build here at all.
Then you have liberal commentator Dean Withers, who has also debated Charlie before.
So you define murder as like intentionally like killing a human being. Mm-hmm. I think that's a very poor way to define murder, because if someone were to like break into my home and point a gun at the heads of me and everybody I love, and I intentionally kill them to prevent them from killing my family, I don't think I murdered them.
You're making a good point. Let me further clarify that. I can see where you're going to go with how that has to go with abortion, but we can go down that journey in a second.
I kind of do want to give you my argument insofar as why I'm pro-choice, why I think it's justified. Mm-hmm. But first, I think that, your position is quite absurd, right?
And not only did Dean post on X, gun violence is never okay, keep Charlie Kirk in your prayers, but also had a normal human reaction to his death.
Imagine being a 12-year-old, watching your dad f***ing die. Nobody deserves that. Not even Charlie Kirk. Nobody deserves that.
However, on the left, his own side, people turned on him.
He cries for another white man who is also wealthy like him because it is the first time that he's actually felt threatened. Also, I like how people are acting like they're surprised by this milquetoast white lib response. He has no real stake in anything that is happening in the country because he is a white cis male and he is in the same wealth and friendship group as Charlie Kirk. These are the same people that'll say nothing justifies this and then turn around and justify the slaughter of Palestinians by saying, yeah, well, Hamas uses them.
Okay, so firstly, Dean Withers has not justified what's going on in Gaza. In fact, he's spoken out against it.
You could literally go see a video on the internet of Israel dropping bombs on an elementary school, and then they are inflamed, they're in fire, and they're falling to pieces. Meanwhile, there's the figures of children running around in the school that's on fire, dying. Like, I know that's uncomfortable, but that's what's happening. That's what you support, and you're avoiding that fact. How can you support a country that is doing that? It should be common sense that we should not that we should not be supporting these things. It's just obvious. It's so obvious.
So already one falsehood on account of the people who want to criticize Dean for crying. But let's see what the others have to say.
Stop letting white people think they're the shit because they take it and run with it. And I'm not talking about Charlie. I'm talking about Dean. Because when his videos blew up, everybody was talking about some bull. Oh, finally a white cis man. Finally a straight white cis man talking some sense. Finally a white man with morals. Why are we praising that? We need to stop with this white savior bullshit, because at the end of the day, white people don't have to like you. And it's not a super special thing for a white person to have morals. It's not. They should. It's nothing special. And honestly, I don't think that white people should even have a place in a conversation about people of color. Just like I don't think that a man should have a place in a conversation about women's rights. I just don't think so. I don't even think it matters if a man is pro-choice. Because white people will never understand the struggle of a person of color. A man will never understand the struggle of a woman. So they should be just entirely left out of those conversations. Entirely. And they absolutely should not be praised for having an opinion that people of color and women deserve to live a free life.
All of this shit with Charlie Kirk, specifically that video of Dean Withers crying, has solidified for me that we need to stop letting white men be political commentators. Okay, they can't be the only ones we're listening to, because clearly they're not standing with us. Are you serious? The reason that he was crying and so sad about him dying is because his bitch ass life has never been threatened by people like Charlie Kirk, okay? He was never put in any sort of danger because of people like him, and that's why he has the balls to sit there and be all sad crying about it, okay? None of us feel that way. All of us feel safer now, okay? This is why I'm done listening to Dean Withers and all those stupid.
Okay, so the gist of what I'm hearing from those who took issue with Dean's reaction was that he's a white person, he's privileged, and could never truly understand the plight of those Charlie Kirk has supposedly hurt. And I'm not even trying to take away from these people's lived experiences, but to say that Dean can't be your ally because he doesn't understand the struggles of women or people of color, that may be true, but it doesn't mean he can't stand behind your cause. In fact, someone like Dean can help the cause, but no, you'd rather push him away and say that he shouldn't be praised for having morals. And also, nobody's bowing at his feet for being human. We're just saying that he was showing decency and people can relate, whether you're on the left or the right, because that could be anyone. And why did Dean's reaction trigger you so deeply? You're allowed to have an opinion on it and post it on TikTok, but I genuinely want to know what goes inside these people's brains that strikes such a nerve. I don't know, it'll always be an enigma to me. And lastly, that girl said that nobody else feels that way, yet I beg to differ. For example, Libertarian presidential nominee Chase Oliver said, Dean Withers is probably 100% opposed to Charlie Kirk's politics, and he's rightfully upset and showing empathy to Kirk's wife and kids. Those who want to paint this horror onto everyone on the left need to think for a moment and realize that most people don't celebrate murders. This isn't left versus right, it's right versus wrong. And the human decency most of us have versus the actions of a violent sociopath. Don't let the murderer win. And then you have far-right personalities like Nick Fuentes actually praising Dean for what he said.
You better disavow this violence. You better cry like Dean Withers. Maybe that comes off like I'm humiliating him. Who knows whether that was sincere or not? I hope to God that it was, and if it was, you know what? Good on him. That's a good kid. He said some nasty things about me. That's a kid with a conscience. He said, I don't think we should kill people for disagreeing. Is that divisive now? He had to apologize for weeping that someone he knew was murdered? That kid has a conscience. I have some faith in that generation.
Because while you have Dean actually being reasonable, there was also Hassan Piker who added to the divide.
By the way, right-wingers saying, oh, we got to tone down the rhetoric, once again, is an insane statement here. People who perhaps are most responsible for setting up an environment where violence and instability is the norm for everyday Americans, where there is just no solution to unlimited gun violence every single day, where parents send their children to school and there's no guarantee of their safety, and some experience exactly what the Republicans, the fear and anger that the Republicans are currently experiencing because they knew Charlie Kirk. Regular people experience that, unfortunately, all too frequently.
And Nick Fuentes called them out.
The left now has an obligation. You can turn down the temperature. Everybody in America now must come together and disavow this nihilistic, malevolent violence. You all have an obligation. I have that obligation. I condemn the violence, all of it, all of the nihilistic violence, whether it comes from the far right, the far left, whether it comes from a Dylan Roof, the Buffalo shooter, or someone like this. It's your job too. You must condemn it loudly, loud enough that we can hear it, and you have to mean it. And I think of somebody like Hassan Piker. Such a hollow, empty, sad person. Hassan Piker saw Charlie Kirk, someone that he knew, get shot in the neck and his neck erupt with blood. We don't need to be graphic about the details. When Hassan saw that, his first reaction was to make a glib remark about gun control. Seriously? That's a 31-year-old man. That's a young man with a wife and kids. He got shot in cold blood, publicly executed in front of thousands of college students. Never forget the trauma of his children, of his family. What about the people that witnessed this? And you hollow, sick person, your response is to make some glib remark about gun control? You. Here's my message to Hassan and all these smug, glib liberals like that. If you cannot, if you will not disavow this violence, we will have no choice but to consider you as no different than the killers. That's complicity. We all get heated. We all do it. I'm guilty of it too. It makes hypocrites of all of us. We murder each other with our words all the time, with our gossip, our slander. We overreact. We say things we don't mean. We get angry. We harbor grudges and resentment, things that we should not. But the day that someone gets shot for the disagreement, this is a moment we all recognize could set us down the path towards a civil war, could set us down the path towards unbelievable horror, suffering, bloodshed. If you can't bring yourself, even for the selfish sake of yourself, to show the slightest ounce of humility, of mercy, of magnanimity, benevolence, charity, then you are no better than the killer.
And when Nick Fuentes, someone who's known for his extreme rhetoric, is saying that we need to bring the temperature down both left and right, we really need to bring it down. And hopefully Nick stays true to his word. Now for me personally, I've been doing some reflection. I promise to try and do better moving forward because I know I've been no saint and am guilty of demonizing others who disagree with me. And my message to others is, you don't need to cry for Charlie Kirk. You don't owe him your prayers. But we do need to reject and denounce the people celebrating what happened to him. And we do need to reject this dehumanization of those on the left, because that's how we lose our humanity. And when we lose our humanity, we lose everything. But guys, I truly want to thank you all for watching this video on a tragic situation. And if you appreciated my commentary, please give it a thumbs up. And if you're new to this channel, hopefully I've earned your subscription. Here's some more videos for you to watch in the meantime. Until next time, peace out.